Look, I have no problem being opportunistic when it comes to advantaging my customers. And EV adoption really does come down to when we go into the mainstream.
The automotive giant Ford appears to be battling it out over Chinese battery technology for their EVs. But what's really at stake, and how might it affect the future of electric cars? 1 in 3 electric vehicles around the world are powered by the group's cheap batteries, which have made the coastal city a must-see for any auto boss interested in making next-generation cars more affordable. Join us to reveal more about how these American auto titans appear to be battling it out over Chinese battery technology for their EVs. A clash over Chinese battery tech. There is growing strain between General Motors and Ford over using Chinese battery technology in their electric cars. This tension has been felt in the auto business and in Congress. Ford's decision to use this technology has caused GM CEO Mary Barra and her team to express deep concerns. They are worried about what might happen, especially the risk of giving China control of the U.S. car production business. This controversial problem has sparked a strong rivalry between 2 American car giants. It could also change the U.S. electric vehicle market, which could have wider effects on the country's ability to compete in technology and industry. Very important things are at stake in this fight. It's not just about the rivalry between Ford and GM. There are also bigger economic and political issues at play. The source and control of key parts like batteries have become more important than ever in the rapidly changing electric car industry, which holds a lot of potential for protecting the environment and boosting the economy. The way both companies use Chinese battery technology makes me worry about the safety of the supply chain and the danger of relying too much on foreign sources. This problem shows how hard it is to find the right mix between encouraging innovation, keeping control of important technologies in the United States, and making the auto industry more competitive. All of these things are necessary in the age of electric cars. As GM, Ford, and lawmakers work through these problems, the result of this disagreement will likely determine the direction of the U.S. electric car market and how competitive it is around the world. The battle for the EV market. Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, started a plan to make the United States more competitive in the current electric vehicle fight with China. He pushed for American companies to use Chinese battery technology in their electric cars. This brave move sparked a fierce rivalry between 2 automotive giants, General Motors and Ford. This fight would have huge effects not only on these 2 companies but also on the U.S. electric car industry and the country's place in the global automotive field. As the market for electric vehicles grows and changes, the fierce competition between companies shows how important it is to have control over important parts like batteries, the safety of the supply chain, and finding the right balance between encouraging innovation, keeping the United States as a technological leader, and staying ahead in a field that is changing quickly. How this high-stakes argument ends will definitely affect the direction of the U.S. electric car market and how competitive it is around the world. Impact on EV buyers. Why should you care about this high-stakes showdown? From next year on, people in the United States who buy electric cars will not be able to get a valuable $7,500 tax credit if their cars have battery parts from a source that the U.S. government considers a foreign entity of concern. Uncertainty surrounds how this rule applies to Ford's use of Chinese battery technology, which makes it unclear whether Ford will be able to get this tax benefit. In the event that Ford's vehicles are disqualified, it might create an unintended big price difference between General Motors' electric vehicles and Ford's. This could make GM's EVs more affordable for consumers, which could change the competitive landscape in the electric vehicle market. There is a chance that cars using certain battery parts from other countries will not be eligible for tax credits. This shows how complicated the relationship is between government rules, industry competition, and customer cost. This issue has a direct effect on the wallets of people who are thinking about buying electric cars, and it shows how important these kinds of decisions can be for the widespread use and availability of EVs. In this situation, the outcome of the lawsuit between General Motors and Ford will not only change how competition works in the electric vehicle market, but it will also have a real effect on the choices people make as they switch to more environmentally friendly ways to get around. The power of presidential decisions. President Joe Biden's government is in charge of the $7,500 tax credit for people who buy electric cars and figuring out what a foreign entity really means. This ruling will have a big effect on electric vehicles and on how competitive companies like Ford and General Motors are. The industry is on edge because it's not clear what a foreign entity of concern is. The stakes are high for both producers and customers. The decision's result will affect a lot more than just these businesses. It will be a test of how the U.S. government plans to encourage local production of electric vehicles, protect supply chain security, and encourage innovation in the electric vehicle sector. Chris Smith, Ford's top government relations officer, explained the company's firm stance, which shows its dedication to keeping its attention on the local market and avoiding any problems that could affect its ability to get the tax credit. Smith's words, "We're Ford and we're all in on America," sum up how many people in the industry feel. They see this fight as very important for shaping the future of electric cars in the United States. As the battle lines are still being drawn, the outcome of this dispute will not only change how automakers compete with each other, but it will also be a key decision that could shape the future of the U.S. electric vehicle market, making it a key moment in the move toward cleaner and more environmentally friendly modes of transportation. A pause in production. As the fight gets tougher, something new has happened that makes the story even more complicated. In a move that has caused even more discussion and attention, Ford stopped building a new battery plant in Michigan. This move has caused waves in both politics and the car industry. Republicans in Congress are paying more attention to the company and are worried about its ties to contemporary Amperex Technology Co., Limited, CATL, a Chinese battery giant from which Ford had planned to get battery technology. This sudden stop in the project was mainly because of these concerns. At first, the Michigan battery plant project was supposed to help the region's economy by making thousands of new jobs possible and improving the U.S. battery supply chain. But right now, it's just sitting there. Ford's action has added to the stress in a case that was already complicated and had a lot at stake. It shows how complicated the relationships are between the way businesses work, the political climate, and the economy as a whole. As the dust settles from this recent decision, it's clear that the future of making electric cars in the U.S. depends on the choices companies make, the connections they make in the global market, and the politics they deal with. Stopping the building of the battery plant is a good example of how far-reaching this dispute is. It affects not only the immediate economic prospects of the region, but also shows how much political factors affect the future of the electric vehicle industry in the U.S. Different perspectives. Ford's choice to stop building the battery plant in Michigan because of growing political attention is a turning point in the ongoing fight over electric car technology. This event shows how difficult and complicated it is for automakers to deal with global supply lines and finding new technology. Ford and the electric car industry as a whole have to find the best mix between sticking to local, political, and economic goals and getting the most advanced and cost-effective technology. This is also a sign of the wider strain in the U.S. car industry, which is trying to deal with a world that is changing quickly because of worries about the environment and new technologies. It's not just a bump in the road that the Michigan battery plant is causing trouble. It shows how the electric car business is growing and changing in many ways, putting the spotlight on the complicated mix of business strategy, politics, and regional economy. Shows how the choices big automakers make affect many areas. It basically serves as a sharp warning that the future of electric cars in the U.S. is tied to global supply lines, political issues, and the never-ending search for new technologies and environmentally friendly ways to get around. The effects of this building holdup will continue to spread, affecting the area's economic prospects and spreading a shadow of doubt over the U.S. electric car market as a whole. Implications for the EV industry. The current battle between General Motors and Ford over Chinese battery technology has effects on the whole electric car business and even further afield. Chinese battery technology is becoming more and more important to the car industry. This is a point of conflict between these two companies and has also started larger talks at the intersection of politics, economics, and national security. It has brought attention to politicians, labor groups, and national security bodies, who are all closely following these events. In sum, it's a complicated web of interests and power plays that could change the electric car industry in the US and have effects on the country's ability to compete in the global market, supply chain security, and technological edge. As this high-stakes battle goes on, it shows how complicated the relationship is between business strategy, government rules, and the larger political and economic environment in which the electric car industry works. It's a lesson that switching to more environmentally friendly transportation isn't just about new technologies. It's also a complicated puzzle that needs to be put together by matching national needs with global supply lines. The result of this disagreement will definitely leave a permanent mark on the electric car industry in the US. It will change the industry's future and the rules for competition and teamwork in the search for better, cleaner ways to get around. What are your thoughts on this clash between GM and Ford? Do you believe it's essential for the US to establish its dominance in EV technology, or should international collaboration be encouraged?